So, welcome back, everyone. So, today we are finally going to talk about the one problem that everyone is trying to ignore. So, we all see the headlines that AI is writing code, diagnosing diseases, and driving cars, and almost everything you can imagine right now. But when a car crashes or the diagnostic is actually wrong, who takes the fall? Is it the person who have actually written the code, the CEO of the company, or the machine that is actually driving the vehicle itself? So today I am joined by my friend Avidu, who has been deep diving into the ethical foundation of AI in business. And you have been looking at pretty some startling data and news, right?
Absolutely right, Shovik. It's good to be here again. And honestly, who is responsible question is now quite becoming a defining business risk of our decade.
Yeah, right. So, for this podcast, I would just like to start with a story that you have actually previously told me before starting this record. So, it was related to something about the robotaxi in Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, absolutely right, Shovik. So it was last year, basically around the month of April, um, a robotaxi, a driverless robotaxi, operated by Zoox, which is an Amazon subsidiary, was navigating the crowded streets of the Las Vegas, and it misjudged an approach vehicle and sideswiped at I think a 43 miles per hour. Okay.
Okay.
Now, physically, the crash was minor, but the business consequences were not because of this a single error, the company had to issue a software recall for the all 270 vehicles that was actually present in the market, and they had to suspended their operations while the regulators they are investigating the code. Now you can imagine like a small technical glitch is actually what to say it effectively shut down the entire fleet.
Yeah, right. So the minor hiccup actually affected the whole system, as you have already said that, right?
Yeah, exactly, because it sends a massive signal to the industry. You know that when the AI system fails, naturally the responsibility doesn't stay with the programmers itself. It shifts to the corporate leadership and the regulators. And that's the most scary part because companies they aren't ready for that shift. And there is actually a massive governance gap.
Okay, so what do you mean by exactly the governance gap?
Okay, let me tell you something from data itself. Okay, I have some data. So, like, according to the Digital Route survey, it was found that 80% of the CFOs they think that AI is a critical mission, or mission critical for the businesses. But contrary, the according to the Kindle AI Readiness Report 2025 recent report, they said that 71% of the tech leaders they actually said that they do not trust their own organizations like in managing the AI risk effectively. Can you imagine? Like they are the actually who are building the technology. The driver itself, they are saying that we don't know how the brake works, and it's quite dangerous. But still, the companies they are adapting those technologies because they need see no option actually.
Okay, so but that's pretty bad actually, because they are themselves deploying those stuffs, and if they don't trust their own safety nets, then why deploy them in the first place?
Because they have to. Problem is that the accountability is often treated as an afterthought, like something you have to worry after something disaster happened. But real accountability has to be a supply chain, not a patchwork, like an instant work. It needs to be in a proper supply chain.
Okay, so let's break down the supply chain that you are talking about. So I have been studying a framework called something about like M4 matrix. So let's walk through what is exactly that based on supply chain.
Well, yes, you are absolutely right. The M4 matrix is a responsibility matrix. It actually divides the accountability into four distinct levels, which are already interconnected. They are the micro and the meso level, as well as macro and meta.
Okay, so let's deep dive into that mainly by breaking one by one, and let's start with micro. That's I think sounds like on the individual level, right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's human in the loop, basically. It's basically question that if the individual act responsibly, it mainly focuses on the individual's responsibility, actually, the data scientists or the software engineers. And there is actually fantastic case study from the Northwell Health, you know. So
Okay.
basically, the Northwell Health, they actually implemented an AI assisted tool in the radiology department, okay,
Okay.
and in to detect the lung nodules actually. And in clinical trials, it showed a very 93% accuracy. So technically, it's a very good model, you can say. But when they were rolled out to different 23 different facilities around, they showed something different results.
Yeah, why? Because I mean, the test results should be accurate enough, and it should reflect the real world scenario, right?
Well, you know, Shobik, the machines are same, right? But the problem is actually the humans itself. Because in the high performing facilities, the radiologists they possess what we call a double literacy.
Okay.
It sounds like holding a double degree, right? Basically, it's like he understood the medical science as well as they possess the actually AI literacy. They know the confidence scores of the AI as well as they know when to question those findings. But contrary, the low level or the lower facilities, the radiologists they often fell into trap because they over relied on the AI and considered the conclusion of the AI as the final without any scrutiny. And sometimes they totally ignore the AI's decision as well as and goes for the traditional method.
Okay, so as far as I understand, micro accountability mainly means that you can't just like hand over a Ferrari to somebody without a driving license and like blame the car when they crashes because they don't have a license, right?
So exactly, and this brings us to the next level. You can say the meso level, the which represent the organization. This is the actually corporate duty of care. This is where actually governance gap I mentioned earlier. It truly lives here.
Yeah, it's the CEO's responsibility, right?
Yes, absolutely. The bar is getting higher. You know, it's no longer enough to say that we tested it. Like companies used to say back then that we tested it, but it fails. We need things like pre-mortems, right? Like we have read in the project management, we need to do some pre-mortems rather than post-mortems to some stress tests to see the vulnerabilities before the launch. And we need living documentation, like update every time the mortem is returned again.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by the idea of pre-mortem that you have just stated. Like, what is it? Is it like to assume this how it happened if something fails?
Well, it's very crucial right now, Shovik, because you know half of the according to the Hugging Face analysis, it was found that less than 50% of the repositories they include only the basic safety documents. Okay, now what is the safety documentation? It generally explains the model, how it was trained, and what are the limitations. And can you imagine only? And it is a very important document actually. And this is a failure of a meso level accountability.
Okay, so we have covered micro and we have covered meso. So right now we will be moving up to the ladder. So what happens when the lawyers get involved?
Well, that's our macro level, you know, the national laws and regulation. This is shifting fast because 2025 is basically the watershed year for the AI regulations.
Yeah, right. I actually have been keeping hearing about the EU AI Act for past couple of months.
Yeah, that's a big one. It mainly took effect in the maybe in the early 2025, in the month of the February or something like that. I don't remember properly. And it introduced a strict liability for the higher risk systems actually. But there is a problem that regulators and lawyers are struggling with, the black box issue. You know, the black box because the AIs are evolving, even the people who developed the deep learning programs they couldn't understand why it's behaving that way.
Yeah, right. They actually doesn't know how those models are making those decisions. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Many AI systems they are actually using deep learning are opaque, evolving over time, learns to discriminate it. Like we have previously discussed, like how Amazon's recruitment system discriminated and they failed in that process.
Yeah, right. So, how does the law handle these situations? Like, when, how they should implement guardrails so that they can prevent pl- uh, events like this in the future. Like, how companies can actually properly decide how they can make AI models based on parameters like, yeah.
The EU actually proposing something called the AI Liability Directive. So it's basically it shifts the burden of the proof. Back in then, instead the victim have to prove that the code was bad, which was quite tough for them because they are not some programmers they will try to read all the codes and then they say that this is a flaw, right? So instead of that, now company have to prove that their system was compliant, or rather you can say that company have to prove that they are not guilty.
Okay, so as far as I've understood that, according to that law, the company is actually guilty till proven innocent, right?
Yes, in a civil liability sense, it is a yes because the law shifts the burden of proof onto the corporation, and it forces to maintain actually a legal safety document. The previous I was talking about the that one.
Okay, so right now we are in the last piece of the puzzle. That's the meta level.
Yes, absolutely. The meta level is a global norms. I think UN agencies, the OECD, like they're about preventing a race at the bottom where companies just move to wherever country they have loses AI because the company tried to evade. At the end of the day, they want to do profit, like so. We are seeing a push for the global standards like UNESCO Global Forum to benchmark how ready the nations are.
Yeah, so this is actually a lot for a business leader to digest.
Yeah,
So,
actually.
and yeah, so if I'm a CEO listening to this, or even a student preparing for this workforce, I'm pretty overwhelmed. Like, there is huge gaps in our knowledge, how things work, how AI works,
Yes,
and
yes.
without proper guidelines, how it is impossible for us to like judge and decide how they are working and how to make it right. So you mentioned a solution like a frame something.
Yeah, it is known as a A frame. So each framework starts with a word A. Like readers, they
Right.
don't have to wait for the crisis. It is a practical tool mainly for the immediate action. It actually stands for four, or you can say actually five.
Okay, so you can walk me through it. What is those and how it is implemented?
Well, first we will start with the awareness. Okay, you can't manage actually what you don't understand. Same as the
Yeah.
studies. We can't solve problems unless we understand the concept, the logic behind it. We need to map our failure modes. We have to technical, social, and legal. Okay. Second comes the appreciation. We have to recognize the accountability flow across the whole matrix as discussed. We can't just blame and finger pointing each other. It's not the
Yeah.
solution actually. It's basically putting the blame on other is goes nowhere actually. And third is the acceptance. This is very hard one because we have to accept that zero failure is a myth. It's never happened actually. Come on. Even people, even great philosophers, they tell that failure, we have to fail in life in order to grow, right? The
Yeah.
system will also fail in order to learn. We can't say that. And we need to design for resilience and the recovery, not perfection actually. Fourth comes is accountability, right? Now define ownership before launch. Who holds the bag when things go wrong? We have to take the ownership, the responsibility. And this is the
Yeah.
fourth one. Okay.
Yes, there is another one. I think you have said
It's a 5-5, right?
yeah,
Right,
right.
you are right. And that's, I think, the most important for us, aspiration. We
Yeah.
shouldn't just asking that is it legal? Is it profitable? Just we need to ask what values we are choosing.
Yeah, that's a powerful message, I might say. So, moving from compliance to purpose.
Yes, exactly. Well, AI is not just an automation tool now, it's a transformation tool actually. If we align with AI strategies with human values, it becomes a force multiplier for the human potential actually. And it requires very much deliberate leadership to handle this.
Yeah, yeah, you are sound like it sound like you are saying accountability isn't like a legal check mark. It should be a competitive advantage, right?
Obviously, because 100%, organization they builds this change of responsibility from the court coming to all the way to the boardroom. They will survive at the last, and they will survive the scandals also because they will be more trusted. And in economy run by the algorithm, trust is the most actual valuable currency. You can say that.
Okay, so to wrapping this up, the robotaxi crash that you have, where we have started from this podcast, wasn't just a glitch. It was actually a warning, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right. Because accountability is a networking effect, a network effect, you can say. A small failure, as we get seen, cause a massive failure in their reputation for a company like Zoox, which is an Amazon subsidiary.
Okay, so for our listeners preparing for this future, whether you're studying for an exam or running a department, the message is clear. Don't wait for the laws to catch up because they will trail, and you have to you have to decide how to move forward in some scenarios without laws stating them.
Right, absolutely. Because accountability is a choice. It's a choice we have to make actually before the system scales.
So thanks, Avirup, for walking us through this. It's a complex topic, I know, but we have simplified as much possible as it is
Yes,
for a
absolutely.
layman like me, and actually that has made the framework a lot clearer than previously I what was known to me.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Phil. Thank you so much.
So thank you all for listening. Until next time, keep your eyes on road and on the code, definitely.